Last week, I recorded a 30-minute podcast episode, and by the time I was done, I had a fully optimized blog post, ready to send email, 5 clips with captions to post for social media, YouTube show notes, all done, and I didn't write a single word of it, and it sounds just like me. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how. The content creation problem that coaches and service providers face is that you have the expertise. You have things to say, but turning one recording into a full content ecosystem takes hours that you simply don't have. So most service providers and coaches either skip repurposing entirely or they just pay someone else to do it. And you still end up with something that sounds very generic. It doesn't sound like you at all. And I'm here today to tell you about a better way. I'm going to show you exactly what I built that helps you do this exact problem. And one last thing before I jump in here today. Last week, my trained AI thought partner, Tarvis, and we talked about what happens if you just paste a transcript into Claude and say something as simple as repurpose this. And so we talked about how generic repurposing is going to produce generic outputs. There's no AEO structure involved. There's no email psychology. There's no clip selection methodology around finding the most engaging clips to pull from. It's just repackaged transcripts, and there's no strategic content system built around that. Now, there's even further risk than that involved, because what we're finding is that more and more platforms are starting to de-rank content that they can deem as AI generated. In fact, YouTube went through and actually demonetized many accounts that were using AI in significant ways. And so what's powerful about what we've created and what I'm going to show you here today is that it takes your voice, it takes your signal, and then it actually allows it to be amplified and repurposed versus asking it to just generate things that are going to sound bland, dull, and like everybody else's. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the product that Kim and I have been working on and building, Kim is my wife and business partner for those who don't know, is called SPARC Marketing. And so what we've done is we've actually built in historically all of our frameworks, all of our mechanisms, all of our methodologies into what we call SPARC Connect, which is the feature today with our SPARC products that we're going to be talking about. So SPARC Connect allows you to seamlessly integrate directly from your AI of choice. So whether that's ChatGPT, that's Gemini, that's Perplexity, or Claude, which is my personal favorite, you can actually then access it directly inside of that environment. So imagine it like this. Imagine if you had many GPTs, but they all work together instead of individual buckets, and you could just access them from one to the next, but carrying that context over across all of those so that they actually communicate with each other. Moreover, what it allows you to do is all that historical context you've built inside of your Claude or chat account can actually speak to those specific frameworks. So you're getting expert-driven frameworks like you would get with a GPT, but without all those individual silos. So everything kind of converges together. And on top of that, you're allowed to use our individual frameworks that we've created so that we have done the work for you from a marketing perspective. And all you have to do is bring your expertise and your content to the equation. All right, so you'll see here, I'm inside my Descript account. And so you don't have to use Descript to do this specifically, but all you need to be able to do is have a tool that gives you a plain transcript here, because what you're going to do is take that, copy that transcript, and then go inside of your Claude or whatever you use. I'm going to go inside of Tarvis to use mine, and I'm basically just going to say, I want to use the SPARC, and you'll see you just do / instead of @ like you would if you're tagging somebody. And then you're going to attach the transcript here, and then just hit enter. All right, so what you'll see here is as I put in to utilize the SPARC Hub, it's actually going to connect literally into our ecosystem of all of our trained frameworks and methodologies and how we do what we do, right? And so what it did was it pulled the content engine, because I said I wanted to utilize the content engine to repurpose from a latest episode that I did. And it'll say, I've got your transcript here in the conversation. This is a CMH Show episode, so public content. So it'll be able to ask you whether this is public content, or let's say you wanted to pull something from a coaching call that you did with your clients. We can actually have that repurposed into a blog as well, but distilled down to where you don't give away all your proprietary goods and secrets or reveal people's names. So I've actually built it to where it can accommodate many different inputs. It can take a blog and then have that repurposed as well into clips you can pull for social. It can take a YouTube video. It can take a podcast episode. It can even take just if you did a voice note. So if you just want to record voice notes on the go, to have repurposed so you can put it into blog format because it's a busy week and you don't have time for a YouTube video, you could do that as well. Or even just pull from your Zoom calls if you host client calls like group coaching inside of Zoom, you can have those pulled as well. All you need is a transcript to make this work. So basically it says everything's fair game for all outputs, meaning there's no proprietary secret stuff here. Then what's great is that with ours is that we start with our ICA and Messaging Map. So think of this like an AI success path, the way that I've built it. And so what it does is it's going to walk you through the process of extracting who your ideal client is, what we call our messaging map, which is the before and after state. This is a very simplified explanation, but then it has true context of who you are, who you serve, and how you serve and the ways you do it. And so it's going to layer that in with those considerations, right? So that's where it knows how to speak to your person, not just to repurpose content, but to actually start moving people closer to the sale and speaking directly to your person in meaningful ways. So it's going to make sure you've done that exercise first. It's kind of like a guardrail to make sure, hey, this output that I'm going to produce for you, it needs to be good, and it needs to be good for you, not just something that sounds good because AI created it. And so this is one of those passes that it'll have. So I've already done that. So it says I've already done both. You want me to pass all three of those in and keep rolling, or do you want to adjust anything before I feed it through? In other words, do I want to change my ICA a little bit? Do I want to incorporate different verbiage in my messaging map? But for the purposes of today, we're going to say, yes, please use what you have. And then we're going to submit that. And then what you'll see here is that it's going to go through and it'll start pulling in this information for you. So if you've ever had experience doing a custom GPT, you know the arduous process of having to put in all of those inputs yourself. The good thing about fusing this with your current AI model, specifically if you're using it inside of a project area, is it already knows about you. It already knows who you serve, how you serve, and the ways that you do that. And so what it's doing here is it's activating this session. It's tapping inside of our knowledge hub, which is like pulling a book off of a bookshelf. So now your generalist, which is your AI tool, becomes a specialist with our marketing expertise, with our marketing frameworks and methodologies. But also the good thing is that since it's inside of your environment, as I mentioned, is that it actually already knows about you. So it's like the best of GPTs and the best of your trained project area, but combined into one. And so I can't overstate that enough. If you're not familiar with the importance of that context confluence or that connected context inside of your AI environment, it's probably why you haven't gotten the best possible outputs from ChatGPT or from custom GPTs. This is kind of like the mega version of that. And it's from the standpoint of it allows you to have a huge edge over other people that are just getting those generic outputs. All right. And so what you'll see here is it's going through a process. So right now it's at step 2, which is voice calibration. And so what's really important about this is that it's actually extracting a lot of what it's hearing from your episode, but it's also going to layer it into what it already knows about you and what it's learned about how you speak. Now, there's various ways you can do that, and we've talked about this in many episodes. I'm going to cover this again in the future, but making sure that it understands your voice. You can give it certain samples inside of your project area so that it knows what you sound like and how you speak. But it's just wanting to confirm here that this is exactly the voice profile that it wants you to use, and it's pulling from that episode specifically for this. So do you have any samples you want me to match beyond what is in the transcripts, or and this episode representative of the CMH Show voice? Right. So it already knows my voice for the CMH Show because that's already been trained. Now, again, a custom GPT would not know this, right? And so it's only going to be able to extract from that particular episode, which is already by default going to sound generic. So yes, sounds great. All right. And then we're going to continue the process, and you'll see it'll say continuing the session. And so each time it does that, it's going through and it's accessing, again, the SPARC hub to continue that session. Okay, really important here. It says content analysis. Here's what I'm pulling from your transcript through to C2C lens. So C2C is our specific mechanism, one of them. It's called content to customers. And so our entire purpose of what we do with content creation is to be business owners and to not just get likes and engagement, but to actually move people closer to the sale. And so the benefit and the beauty of using this specifically is that it's actually going to layer that in for you. It's going to make sure that it's saying, okay, what do you sell? And how do we utilize the C2C method to move people closer to the sale by using this piece of content, but building that in intentionally? And so what it'll say here is the core theme is that coaches don't have a memory problem. They have a systems problem. This was from the episode. Here's exactly how to build an AI-powered client management system using Claude projects plus ClickUp MCP so you never forget where clients left off. ACC classification. Okay, so important. Within the content to customers framework, there's actually what we call attract, connect, and convert. And so when you're producing content, The reason content to customers works is because, one, you attract people with something that people are searching for. You may be watching this video because you've been searching about Claude or AI content creation and you found this video. That's attract. Now, connect lives inside of that. That's the stuff that you're actually doing, the meaty stuff inside of an episode or on your actual content piece. That's where you showcase your domain expertise. Now, many people either stop at attract or they only do attract and connect. And the problem is that they don't take advantage of the opportunity to invite people to take next steps, at least not with intention and not being deliberate about it. And so many times we've had people, specifically clients, that have content that goes viral, but there's no intentionality behind that. They'll get 1 million views on a TikTok post and they get nothing from it. They don't get an email lead. They don't get new subscribers. They don't get any purchases. That's not what we want to have happen. And so the ACC method, as you'll see here, it's making sure that it crosses that checkpoint for you. So this is primarily attract content because that's what I designed it to be. It showcases a capability your audience didn't know was possible, positions you as someone who's already built it, and creates an I need to learn to do this urgency. Secondarily is connect. You're teaching from your own real workflow, which builds trust. So key extracts, the 3-tier Claude project architecture, the thread forking to prevent context drift, et cetera, is summarizing for us here, right? Emotional arc, hook, relief, excitement, education, aspiration, CTA. This is what generic AI is not going to do for you right here. Of the many things that I've already cited, is this is a process to go from hook people, make it relevant for them, relief, hey, this can be real for you, excitement, I built it, you can build it too, education, here's how, aspiration, here's how you can do it, and then CTA, 3 ways to go deeper to work with me. Now, that's something that may look different for your piece of content. This was for this one specific piece of content. But all of these mechanisms, literally 3 of them, just in this one step of the process, are already built in for you. So what we do now is we've already got our hook moments pulled out because it understands what it's trying to convey. It has deep understanding and knowledge that it access to be able to say, these are clips that are actually going to do what you need them to do for your specific piece of content. So it actually tells you for your VA, if you're doing it yourself, clip the first 45 seconds, starting with how do you remember everything? The cold open, 4:30 through 5:30, the thread forking concept, novel, sticky, and shareable. It tells you why it's going to perform attract, connect, convert. 6 minutes to 7 minutes, ClickUp as the external hard drive analogy, visual and practical. Minute 7:30 to 8:30, MCP notes dropping workflow. Hey, save that under my notes, live demo energy. So it was me actually demoing. And then 10:30 to 11:30, group coaching, split architecture, pro tip framing. Now, many of you may already use something like Opus Clips. That's totally fine. What I can actually do here in many cases is I'll give this to Underlord, which is inside of Descript, and it'll actually cut those for me to where I've done 80% of the work so that our VA can just take it from there and do the stylistic editing that she wants to do. But you could just say, hey, let me go pass these over and see if I can pull these exact clips from Opus directly, or in the future, when there's actually connector access from Claude, you could actually take this and push it directly into Opus to have it stylized for you. So I've already built it up for future-proofing purposes to where that could be a possibility. Okay, now next is talking about conversion bridges. So this entire episode is a natural bridge to the AI marketing integration strategy call. It's talking about the SPARC CTA, lands well because, so it's literally going to say how well you're doing conversion. Like, in other words, are you actually taking advantage of your content piece to turn people into customers? So it's telling me that the SPARC CTA number 3 lands well because you literally showed the methodology layer in action, and then also TBL coaching. So if you wanted to join me inside of a group or one-on-one coaching, it connects via the implicit message we built, systems most coaches haven't even thought of yet. Now, so what it's doing basically is it's kind of rating your content. It's telling you that, hey, what I'm pulling out, these are the things you did well that probably you didn't realize you did it, or that are conversion oriented. Or if you didn't do that, it's actually probably going to tell you here, if I hadn't done it, these are areas where we need to do better, right? And it actually has coaching elements that I've provided and Kim has provided throughout the process. So you're kind of getting repurposed content built through frameworks with little coaching notes like this one here. These are all built on not just AI, but the feedback that Kim and I have fed into this system. Content gaps, no specific client results before or after metrics. So again, I didn't give any specific results because this is a brand new thing. And so that would have been something to improve on for the next one, which again, good to note, right? You're getting kind of like a rubric or a grading here. Adding one would strengthen the blog's proof signals. No mention of time investment to set this up. That's a really good point that I didn't think about. So audience may wonder, how long does this take? So does this analysis match your intent? Anything I'm misreading or want adjusted before I start building outputs? And keep in mind that just because you didn't do it in the original transcript, I can take these conversion bridge notes or content gaps and I can infuse that into the blog. And so I could ask it, yes, let me actually have my team add in a couple of those elements that make up for the fact that I didn't do it inside the YouTube video. And so really important that you have that checkpoint there. And I'm going to say, this is excellent feedback. Please move forward. You'll see here, continuing the session. And now what it's producing is not just an AEO optimized blog post, which is pulled from the latest, most recent updates with what are best AEO practices, but it's also pulling from what we call our blogging for business framework. And so it's an entire course that Kim provided that's been maintained and updated. And so it's actually going to speak with that specific angle, which again is focused on not just having great value content on your website, but moving people closer to the sale. Because our intention is that we never put out a piece of content that doesn't have orientation of moving people closer to the sale. That doesn't mean you're selling on every piece of content, but what it does mean is that you're not just putting out free value for the rest of the world to be freebie seekers. You're actually doing intention behind it to get people closer to becoming leads, prospects, and customers. So you'll see here, this is the actual full blog post here, how coaches can use AI to remember every client, but it's optimized for AEO. Now, you might not know what that means. AEO is answer engine optimization. So if you've heard of SEO, AEO is now the next gen of SEO. And so what that means is that you'll get recommended by AI. So when people are having conversations with AI because they're not Googling as much as they used to, you want AI to recommend you. And so the more AEO optimized content you put out, it's like having an organized filing cabinet. So when ChatGPT or Claude is scouring the web looking for answers for their specific person, organized filing cabinets that are clearly labeled and clearly designated for where they should be inside of each cabinet are easy to find. Now, the more easy they are to find and the more you've added elements in here that it's looking for, the more likely it is you're going to get recommended. And in fact, I've seen people doing this. We have people we work with that are getting recommended like crazy by AI because they're being very intentional around AEO. And I think candidly, this is an opportunity that many people don't even know what it is yet, and a huge opportunity for you to get ahead of the curve there. So this blog post specifically is not just built on my original piece of content. So it's amplifying my voice and repurposing my voice, not just creating something from scratch, but it's also layered through, again, our selling mechanisms inside of blogging for business, but also with that AEO added element of making sure that it's structured in a way that's AI friendly. And the good news is that if it's AI friendly, it's probably also SEO friendly still as well, because obviously SEO is still important. So you'll see here, I'm not going to read the entire blog post, but basically it's pulling from that directly. And you'll see a pretty long section here with an FAQ section. It even gives you a schema markup, which you don't need to know what that means specifically. But if you have a developer you work with, they can help you kind of get that embedded on each individual blog that you put out. And it's also going to give you some coaching notes here. So suggested CTA. So if you're a coach or service provider and you want help building this exact AI system for your business, not just the theory, but the actual architecture customized to how you work, that's exactly what our AI marketing integration strategy calls for. Book a call with me and my CTO, Brian, and we'll map out what makes sense for your specific setup. Link in the description. Also, it gave me a content upgrade idea. Create a one-page PDF checklist. So it's giving me recommendations for lead magnets. The AI client management setup checklist, the 7 things every coach needs configured before their next client call. It covers account preferences, project setup, memory versus instructions versus files, thread naming convention, ClickUp card structure, MCP connection, and first client onboarding flow, gated behind email sign up on the blog post. Now, again, I don't think I have to tell you guys, if you've used AI before, that this is not customary. This is not something that regular AI is going to ask for, and this is already built in to give that for you because it's built into how we built this thing. So crazy important to have that, right? Your post promotion checklist. It's going to tell you and your team exactly what you're going to be doing with this. You're going to share on social media. You're going to email your list with a hook driving to the post. Now, I'm already going to create the email for you, so you've already got that done as part of the process. Create a short video discussing the key takeaways, extract 3 to 5 quotes as social media graphics, embed the content upgrade checklist and promote it, reshare monthly with fresh angles. So you've already got that built-in post-publish coaching as a part of the process here. ACC role. So this is more of like your notes about where Attract, Connect, Convert lives and how it plays with this piece of content. This blog post functions as Attract content. It captures search traffic from coaches and service providers asking AI-related operational questions. AEO structure ensures it gets cited in AI overviews and answer engines. bringing new audience members into your ecosystem who discover you through questions. How do coaches use AI for client management? And then you've got some further stuff here. Now, interesting, right? Because these are what we call the co-pilot assessment. So this is basically, again, going to be where Kim and I have trained this thing to provide coaching checkpoints along the way through this process. And it's going to tell you what general AI would have produced versus what you produced with this process. Super important. If, again, this is going to let you know my stuff doesn't sound like generic AI. This is preventing from the risk of you having deranking occur by it sounding too much like regular AI, or having people read it and be like, I read something that sounded exactly similar to somebody that does exactly what you do. It needs to sound differentiated. So what general AI would have produced, if you pasted this transcript into a fresh AI chat and said, turn this into a blog post, you'd get a readable article, but it would be a structured transcript, not an AEO-optimized asset. Specifically, you'd be missing no TLDR answer capsule, the 40 to 70 word extraction target that AI search systems pull from. They're looking for this specifically. Statement headings instead of question format headings. Very, very, very smart. AI overviews match questions to answers. Statements get skipped. No FAQ section, which is one of the highest value extraction targets for AI citation. Most people don't know that. So each one of these already has the AI FAQ friendly section built into it. No entity signals. So your name and frameworks wouldn't appear strategically in the first 100 words of the headers. Crazy important. Differentiation, sounding different, knowing how you're different. If AI doesn't know how you're different, how is it going to recommend you when people are asking specific questions? It won't know how to. No schema markup recommendations for Brian or your Brian equivalent, which is not that hard to do. You can Google schema. It's not that hard to add to any page. It's really simple. No ACC classification tying this post to your buyer journey, so you don't have the mechanism or methodology built in to actually move people further along your buyer journey. No content upgrade idea or promotion checklist. Super important there. This is through ways that we recommend people out promoting content you can hand to your team or set as reminders. If you have MCP access to ClickUp, I can actually have those tasks pushed directly there with dates and reminders, due dates and reminders, which is super helpful. Agents can remind me about things as well inside of ClickUp. What the content engine methodology added. The TLDR answers the primary search query, how coaches can use AI for client management in 58 words. This is the extraction target for Google AI overviews. H2, so header 2s, like what is MCP access and when should you fork a thread? Match question format AI systems prioritized for citation. The FAQ section gives you 4 additional extraction opportunities a standard blog would have. So 4 times more opportunities that a standard blog would provide. That's a huge deal. Entity signals placed Chris Harris, the Business Lounge, and CMH Show in the first paragraph across multiple headers. Building the entity graph makes you the recognized source. Super, super, super important. You need to have the AI needs to understand who built this, who's responsible for this so that I can recommend those people. So really, really important there. The call to action bridges naturally using Gardner language. So this is something we built in, is more Gardner language. A lot of people feel overtly salesy. And so what I did was I built in what I call Gardner language with this, so that actually speaks through the lens of building value and helping someone do something versus more hokey and gimmicky of buy my stuff and very aggressive. So most people are worried when they're doing like something with AI that it's going to be either not sound like them or be way too aggressive or be way too salesy. And this prevents you from doing that because I already built that in for you. Okay. What it also gives you is how to push this from 85% to 95%. So it's going to give you, again, a rubric. What can we do to make this sound even more like you, even better than what it produced compared to regular AI? So before you publish, run these 3 checks. Voice check. Read the intro and first body paragraph out loud. Does it sound like you screen sharing with a friend, or does it sound like a polished AI writing? If it's too clean, talk to text a rewrite of those sections, and I'll restructure around your version. So the way we built it is you can actually do talk to text inside of Claude to make those revisions. In fact, I'm going to do an entire episode on talk to text because I use it all the time, specifically with Claude, and it's incredible how much faster you can move. So if it doesn't sound like you, we've already got 85% of the way there. You can actually keep building right here inside of what you're doing. And what it'll do is that's going to start storing as memory, or you can ask it to store it as memory. Hey, I've noticed when you do my blogs, you're doing X, Y, and Z when I sound like A, B, and C. Not just for this episode, but for all episodes, please save that into your memory. Done. That's not something you can do with a custom GPT. You can't go from YouTube description to blog to clips to email to send in one GPT. it's going to be boo-boo. It's not going to be great. It's not going to sound good at all. So this allows you to do that, plus have that historical context that you're building. So this continues to get better over time, where people literally don't know the difference, that it's not actually you. And when people feel weird about that, well, it's still AI. Okay, well, one, were you doing it to begin with, repurposing? And two, more than likely you were trusting somebody outsourced or a virtual assistant. And they can never fully capture your voice the way that AI can capture your voice. So this is going to allow your VAs to stay in roles that are more strategic and revenue oriented, while letting AI do what AI does best, which is to take your voice and your sound and actually help you just amplify that and repurpose that as a tool, not generative. Super, super important to understand why that matters. So proof signal check. This draft could use one specific metric. This system saved us X hours per week, or client retention went from Y to Z since we built this. One data point turns this from tutorial to case study. Now, it already covered that before, but it's already telling me that I need proof. Why? Because Attract, Connect, Convert demands that you prove what you're doing. I call it the prove it. If you're going to make claims and you say you're different, you need to prove that that's real. If somebody tells you, like a gym, hey, you're going to lose weight, I promise. Well, you've already been to 5 other gyms and they all said the same thing. Why is yours going to be different? This builds that in for you. Why is yours different? Data points, testimonials, methodologies, mechanisms. These are all things that prove it, and it's pushing me to make sure that I infuse that, which is a really good check. Entity consistency check. Make sure Chris Harris, the Business Lounge, and CMH Show appear with identical phrasing on your About page, social profiles, and YouTube channel. AI builds entity graphs across platforms. Consistency is how you become the cited source. Now, important because most places on the web, I go by Chris Michael Harris because Chris Harris is generic and there's 10 trillion of us. And so adding the Michael is going to make a big difference. And so I would absolutely do that if this was something that I was going to be producing live, other than just demoing it for you. So it says ready to move to email draft or want to refine the blog first. Now you could stay here and refine further, but for the purposes now, we're going to say, let's do the email draft. And the good news is, and I'll tell you this, is as we continue to demo what we've built here with SPARC Connect, is eventually and soon, a lot of these will have connector access, meaning Claude can actually connect directly to the tools of your choice. So I've already talked about connecting to ClickUp. I'm connected to many tools. In fact, I'm sending emails directly from Claude. It's one I'll do in a future episode. But if I want to follow up with leads that come through immediately, but I'm on the go, I'll ask Tarvis to email them. Tarvis will actually pull all of their information about their business, tell me everything I need to know about them, so all that market research is done. I do voice to text throughout the entire process and ask it to send me an email. And I have a draft created that I just review and send within seconds. And that's something I've been doing often. And I'll even say it's from Tarvis. I don't have it pretend to be me. I'm like, hey, here's Tarvis. I'm sending on behalf of Chris. We reviewed your info and we want to follow up with you. So my point is that the more AI becomes connected with other platforms, which is the next evolution of AI, is making sure that these actually connect with the tools you need to connect to, you'll be able to push these directly into the environments they need to go to. So you'll be able to push directly into sending the email, for example, through your ConvertKit account or whatever it is you use. Okay, so it's giving me some subject line options here. It's probably going to be all through Attract, Connect, Convert because that's what it's trained to do. So we don't remember our clients. Our AI does is one. The system that knows your clients better than you do, really good one too. I built a client memory system in 30 minutes. And it says preview text. Here's exactly how we set it up and how you can too. Really, really strong, right? Okay, opening. Let me be honest about something, and I won't read the whole thing here, but when one of our clients asked us this week how we remember everything about every single client, the answer isn't that we have a superhuman memory. We don't. Our AI does, etc. So we have the full body. We have the full, it's including the bridge here. So now we're bridging into what we're going to showcase. And it's built to basically provide value and tell you what the ACC role, Attract, Connect, Convert was here. So this email functions as connect content. It deepens trust with subscribers who are already in your ecosystem. So you'll note before I had attract, why I'm trying to attract new people. But on my email list, I want it to be positioned as connect because I'm trying to take people from being on my email list to wanting to deepen the relationship with them. So I don't need it to be attract. I need to connect with them because the next thing is for them to become clients or customers. So it takes the same piece of content and it knows this needs to be connect for your specific person because that's how I've trained it to operate for you so that you don't have to think about those things. So it deepens trust with your subscribers who are already in your ecosystem by demonstrating genuine expertise. You built the thing, not just theorized about it, and bridges naturally to the video where they can see it in action. Secondary convert signal via the strategy call mention, okay? So Gardner Framework is telling you how it used the Gardner Framework here. Is that acknowledge you felt this. It validates the scramble before calls experience. without making them feel bad about it. It reframes the problem. It's a system issue, not a you issue. That's really good. It diffuses a lot of shame and guilt that people feel around why they're not doing something specifically. It nurtures, so it delivers enough standalone value that the email works, even if they've never click, or even if they never click, they walk away understanding the concept. And then harvest, watch the full walkthrough, is an invitation, not a demand. Strategy call mention is positioned as if you want help, not you need this. So it's going to be more gardener oriented with building the value, but also giving them opportunities in a gentle nudge way for if you want help, here's how you can take those next steps. And then obviously the co-pilot assessment here, what general AI would have produced. A generic promote this video via email prompt gives you a summary and a link email. Hey, I published a new episode using AI for client management. Here are the key points, and then bullet points. Watch it here. So there's no Gardner framework. It would lead with the content, not with the reader's emotional state. It teaches before it acknowledges. One subject line instead of 3 options. That may or may not, you could ask for more if you wanted to, but it gives you 3 by default, which is good. But reasons why. Summary tone instead of conversation tone. It recaps what you said rather than reframing. Insights is here's what this means for you. Really important. Generic CTA, watch now instead of an ACC, attract, connect, convert, align, bridge that matches connect intent. That's super, super important. The PS would be filled with a repeat of the CTA instead of left intentionally blank for the current promotion. Also really good. And the contrarian reframe. So generic AI would share the information. It wouldn't land that. That's not a memory problem. That's a system problem perspective shift. Also extremely important. Okay, what the content engine methodology added. The opening acknowledges the scramble before call, struggle before teaching anything. That's the Gardner acknowledge step that earns attention before asking for it. 3 subject line options gives you a curiosity angle, a specificity angle, and a personal/story angle. That's also matching our buyer types, which is built-in methodology that you don't need to know about, but that's already built in there for you. And then the body delivers standalone value. 3-layer architecture concept plus group coaching separation logic. So the email passes the delete test. It's useful even if they never click. The CTA bridges to the video as a connect content with a strategy call position as a natural next step. So connect to moving towards convert with no pressure escalation. The voice calibration matches your tutorial with a friend style rather than defaulting to a published content copywriting. So how to get it from 85% to 95%, and it goes through the entire process. So it's going to basically to read it and let it know, hey, this doesn't sound like me, fix that. Which it already should be way more dialed in than generic AI. The delete test, remove the video link entirely and read the email. Is it still valuable? Does the reader learn something useful even if they never click? This draft should pass the 3-layer architecture and group coaching separation concepts, deliver value standalone. It doesn't feel like enough, add 1. If it doesn't feel like enough, add 1 more specific insight. And then the subject line gut check. Look at the last 5 emails sent. Which subject line gets your best open rates? Go with that pattern. My recommendation is option 1 because built to know what it should do for these situations, has the strongest curiosity gap, and mirrors your actual opening line from the episode. So you've got this pretty much ready to send, as well as coaching steps on next considerations to really take it over the top. So again, really, really powerful there. And it says, are you ready for clips? Yes, let's get the clips. Now it already gave me those before, so it's probably just going through in the order of making sure that that I have those in conjunction with what it provided as an overview. But we'll see what it provides here. But for the most part, you are ready to rock and roll. What I actually do, and this is a pro tip, is I'll actually have this pushed into ClickUp in an area that I've designated for these specifically, to where now it'll go in there and I'll ask it to tag Belle, the person that's editing this video for you guys. Hey, here's everything you need for the next episodes, which includes the blog, the email that we can have just already prepped and ready for sending and draft, and then also the clips that she's going to be able to pull from here. So yes, so it gave me an overview before. Now it's giving me reasons why, but also what it's pulling. So it's telling you the criteria that's met. It's giving the hook strength, opens with a real client question, emotional resonance. Every coach has felt this. Shareability. It's giving hook analysis because we've trained it on what a good hook looks like. So one of our clients asked us this week, how do you remember everything about every single client? Honestly, we don't, but our AI does. First 3 seconds land a curiosity gap plus unexpected answer. Strong as is, no trim needed at the open. Hook type, bold statement, result first. Again, this is what we've trained it to do, is to know those type things. ACC type, attract. This is a scroll stopper for anyone who coaches clients. Discovery content. Really important if you're looking for attraction because you need to grow your following, which is part of the process here is getting a bigger following and then moving people down the pipeline. So it even provides some editing notes. So start on, one of our clients asked us, the clips ends at, we're going to show you today how we're using this. Now, eventually we'll be able to push this into Descript or Opus, and it'll say editing notes for Descript. And I can say, great, send it to Descript or Opus, and it'll just push directly into that with these editorial notes. Super, super valuable. So now we can produce much more content much faster, and I can keep Belle in a role that's not her just creating clips. I can keep her doing phenomenal edits so that our content stands out. I can have her doing more strategic work so that we're actually taking advantage of the fact that we're not just producing content, it's very guided and specific content. So more things are going to help us actually grow our platform, right? So it gives us some captions. So for the shorts, it gives us captions. For the Instagram Reel, it gives us captions. For LinkedIn, if you're using that, for TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. Another clip, again, all of this with instructions, with captions, with everything you need for all these various platforms. And you'll see it continues, many, 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 and also gives you the same Copilot assessment. It says what generic AI would have produced. A generic find the best clips prompt gives you 3 to 5 timestamp quotes that sound good. That's selection by vibes, not by methodology. You'd be missing no selection criteria scoring. Generic AI picks quotable moments, not moments that meet performance criteria, hook, strength, thought completeness, and shareability. No hook type classification, knowing why a clip works, bold statement versus mid-sentence start versus result first. It lets you pattern match what performs for your audience over time. No ACC classification per clip. Without this, all clips serve the same purpose instead of strategically spanning a track to connect. One caption, generic caption, reformatted across platforms instead of platform native versions written for each audience's behavior. Crazy important, right? Most people just get a caption and they post it everywhere. This gave you native specific captions. It gave editing notes for Belle, so it actually gets watch time. In fact, we just talked about this on our podcast that I do with Kim, specifically the Business Lounge podcast. You can check that out in the link below if you want to check that show as well. But we talked about how now likes and engagement are actually only measured much lesser than what they used to be. In fact, DM shares are getting 3 to 5 times more weight than general engagement. Meaning if you share somebody's piece of content with somebody else, it has 3 to 5 times more weight than just a generic engagement on that post specifically. Watch time is also now heavily, heavily measured. So what that signals is that they're looking for relationship builders, not just people that create a bunch of clickbait. This is why this matters now, because these editing notes, these hooks, this is what's going to drive a lot of watch time and shareability, and that's going to help your content perform much, much better, not just repurposing wise, but performance wise. So no bridge to anchor strategy, driving viewers back to the full episode. This drives it with full intention. What the content engine added, clips 1 and 3 are classified as attract, discovery content for new eyes, while clips 2 and 4 are connect, depth content for existing audience. This serves both acquisition and retention. Clips 2 and 4 both needed manufactured hooks since they start mid-explanation. Kind of important. Can't just pick up in the middle of a conversation. The editing notes gives Belle specific text overlay language and cut points instead of leaving creative decisions unguided. Platform captions are genuinely different. LinkedIn is 3 to 4 times longer with thought leadership framing. TikTok is lowercase casual. Instagram uses save/engage CTAs. YouTube shorts include keyword hashtags for discovery. So all native. This literally removes that extra many steps for you just by doing it by default. Each clip has a specific bridge back to the full episode, turning short form into a funnel rather than a standalone content that goes nowhere, right? So the magic sauce is doing what it's supposed to do behind the scenes that nobody sees, but people that use this, they'll start to see the difference that it does truly drive on our unique frameworks and mechanisms from decades of doing this type of work combined. So the 3-second test, et cetera, and then yes, we're going to do that. So now we want show notes. Yes, ready for show notes. And then you'll see this is the last piece that's going to be produced here, and then this thing is done. If you're doing this on your own, it'll go much faster. I'm obviously having to explain the process here, but if you're doing it on your own, you'll see that the process goes much, much faster. So what it's giving you is an AEO-optimized YouTube description. It's giving you your hook. It's giving you your lines 2 to 3 AEO summary, which is really important. This is what AI is looking for, is those first 2 to 3 lines. It gives you your timestamps by default because we pulled specifically from that transcript, which is really important. It gives you the resources that you mentioned, so you don't have to track those down with the links included unless there's a specific link that needs to be pulled for that episode. And then it's got your generic connect with us and all the social media handles, etc. And then lastly, it's going to give you your podcast platform description as well. So this is all done for you as well. And then it tells you again the attract, connect, convert role in all of this, as well as your co-pilot assessment as well. So it's saying that generic AI wouldn't have produced an AEO optimized hook line. It would have been a summary optimized for reading, not for extracting. Really important for AI to be able to extract. Obviously, the timestamps would have been just generic versus very strategic for what it needs to be. That's going to help with both AI, but also for people watching the things they need to watch. No dual format strategy. Generic AI writes one description. The methodology produces both YouTube optimized and podcast platform optimized versions because they serve different discovery behaviors. CTA as an afterthought. So it would have just been like, oh yeah, and by the way, subscribe. And this was very deliberate about making sure that it uses attract, connect, convert, and moving people closer to the sale. Tells you what it was added, and it tells you how to make it better, all the same. And then we can move forward with, yes, move forward with this. Yes, cascade plan. And then that is the last step in the process. And again, you can just have all of this packaged up, or you can send it directly to ClickUp, whatever you want to do, whatever works best for your specific workflow, which we can talk about in a future episode where I'm pushing all of these things. But my recommendation is push it in your project management tool like ClickUp, because then you can actually add checkpoints, and also you can itemize these things out, and that makes it easy to know what's been posted, what hasn't been posted, and it's easy for quick reference. So basically it's giving you the entire plan. Launch week, day 1 to 2, publish clips, blog post, day 5 to 7, week 2, stagger, day 8 to 9, what you're going to publish, day 10 to 11, what you're going to publish. It gives them the whole content calendar part of it, plus what you're going to redistribute. So you're going to repurpose the blog post in a LinkedIn article. Day 18, email follow-up referencing the topic with a new angle, not a resend. Day 21 to 25, remaining clip variations on secondary platforms. Day 25, community discussion prompt. Ongoing, sustain evergreen. Tag this episode as attract. Quarterly republish, so you republish the ones that worked well. Clip compilations, organic references. And I'm going through really fast. I know that, guys. But you really have to, go through it yourself to realize, like, this is literally a month now of an entire content plan from just this right here. From one piece of native content. That's powerful, right? And it's also giving you some evergreen recommendations as well. So your quarterly republish, your clip compilations, ones that do well, save those for best of. You can use those again in the future. Organic references when future episodes touch on AI tools, client management, or ClickUp, reference this episode naturally with internal linking compounds over time, so you can bring it back in there. The ACC cascade, so derivatives that maintain the source. Clip 1, so it's going to tell you what each one is serving and how it's serving. So you make sure you're doing plenty of attract, connect, convert. It tells them exactly how to use this, your team or you, depending on who's doing this. And so we call, so using our co-pilot assessment here. Oh, here, this is what you'll see. This is what I was looking for. The ACC balance across all outputs. So 40% attract, 45% connect, and 15% convert. That's a really, really good for most people that most people don't realize they're only doing attract. This forces you to make sure that you're doing connect and convert. Like, you don't have to guess. You don't have to go back and remember what all you did. And actually is building you a schedule that aligns specifically with the track, connect, convert. That alone is worth the entire thing, in my opinion. Like, the fact that it does all the other things is incredible, but most people just simply are not doing this or even thinking about it. They're just producing content. And so if that's you, this right here alone is worth the entire price of admission. Super powerful stuff. Okay, what general AI would have produced? Again, the no ACC cascade analysis. It would just give you general distribution. Every post treated as the same. There's no intentionality behind it. No strategic sequencing happening. Anchor first. Email attention is fresh. Highest clip. So it's not going to give you an order that makes the most amount of sense. It's just going to say blast this out and here's an order to do it, but not with strategy behind it. No ACC balancing score without seeing that you're 40, 45, and 15 percentage-wise. We can't identify that your convert signal is light and intentionally add a bridge. So important, because now week 3 is going to be built with the notion that we're working towards getting them to convert from the pieces we've been putting out. So it's built in with deliberation. No sustain phase. Generic plans end at post everything this week. The methodology includes quarterly blog republishing, content bank tagging, and organic back referencing. Now, here's the cool part, is that when you do sync up with your project management tool, I can ask you to push all this in to that area and to ClickUp, and then put dates on all these things and tag Belle. So there's no guessing left. Now, eventually, when we can connect to our scheduling tools as well, we can go from that environment in directly into having that scheduled. So from ClickUp directly to our scheduling tool, which 1,000% is coming. So now we have weaved in all of our tools together to make our workflow even easier. And so this is just the first step of the process, but most of this is going to happen behind the scenes, specifically as AI advances, where you're going to see all this stuff happen, specifically with agents, which we're working on with SPARC as well, where it's going to take it through this entire process without your involvement at all. Now, sometimes that may be a good thing and maybe a bad thing because you may need to change some things, but as this gets really dialed in, having an agent do a lot of this work, you can choose what it does and what it doesn't do, and you could remain the signal as much as you want. But some of this other stuff, like the scheduling and stuff like that, we could have agents helping you do a lot of those things, meaning AI agents inside of your project management area. So really, really powerful stuff. Okay, content engine methodology added, your sources are tracked, but the cascade deliberately shifts the email, clips 2 and 4, and the quote posts in Connect territory, so you're deepening relationship, existing audiences. The week 3 follow-up is the convert element, so we're being specific about converting people from this piece of content. The 4-week SSRS timeline turns one recorded session into approximately 15 to 18 pieces of strategic content across YouTube, email, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and your blog post without creating anything new from scratch after day 1. The sustain phase ensures the episode keeps working 6 to 12 months from now through quarterly blog freshness updates, clip compilations, and organic back referencing in future episodes. So you've got 1 month of content, but then also we can continue to repurpose this for 6 to 12 months if it is working in that sustain phase from one piece of content. Copilot assessment, week 1 calls for 5 pieces. With Belle on clips and Brian on blog, that's realistic for your team. But look at week 2, 4 clips and one quote post. So it's actually telling you, because it knows what we've suggested as far as what a content schedule should look like, because we've taught content calendar systems forever, what's realistic as far as bandwidth. And so it's catching that as a potential hiccup in week 2, so we could adjust from there if we wanted to. So you're actually using it as a content strategist as well. The whole cascade becomes scheduling, not a real-time production. Ask Belle if she can batch these before day 1. And again, we can push this as notes for her as well. I can be like, yes, your concerns, push these as notes for Belle when you push these updates inside of ClickUp. ACC gap check, you're at 15% can convert, which is intentional for a content-led business. But if you're in a revenue push period considering upgrading, the week 3 email from a soft bridge to a direct strategy call invitation with a time-bound element. We're booking quarter 2 strategy calls this week. Here's the link. So it's actually advising me if I'm in a push where I need more clients, amen, anybody else in that boat, right? Like we're all in that boat. Then we can actually adjust it to push more like 20-25% without changing anything, without changing the tone of anything else. So we can say, let's readjust some of this to be more convert heavy. So it'll take the same pieces, but it's going to re-optimize it for a convert for you so that you can readjust whatever you need it to do for you, which is great. And then we're going to do ready for final wrap. Obviously, we could continue to optimize it if we felt like it wasn't there, but it's giving you those checkpoints along the way, which is really powerful. And then we'll get the final wrap here. And then basically it's just going to break down everything we've done with some brief explanations. And this is where I would probably go forward and say, I want to push this into ClickUp, help me structure and organize this to tag the rest of the team, so on and so forth. And now we finished the entire content engine process. All right, so if you've watched this entire video and now you find yourself thinking, I need this in my business ASAP, I want to invite you to schedule a free discovery call on Zoom with me. Or you can text Kim and myself and let us know that you're interested in checking out this tool. This was built specifically for coaches and service providers. And so if that falls into your category, this was absolutely built with a lot of love for you. I spent many, many hours putting this together because my heart was to make sure that people like us that do this type of work, that are serving at such a high level, I just want more people to see what you actually do and what we actually do. And this takes your expertise and it just allows the world to see how amazing you actually are. And so that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I built it. And so if you want to schedule that quick 30-minute call to see if you're the right fit or if it's the right fit for you or how it would work for you, or text us, feel free to take those next steps. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications, or drop in the comments below and let me know what you want to see me cover next, whether that's further integrations with Claude or what else crazy stuff I'm doing with Claude. Or more things about the SPARC tools as well. So I'll see you guys in the next one.